Hi, how's it going? In this video, I'd like to talk about intermittent fasting. So it's something a little different than I normally talk about, but I thought I'd give this a different spice for now. So I'm going to begin by talking about what we were taught growing up, eating 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, maybe snack. Well, let's just focus on the 3 meals. How that is actually a myth that we need to eat 3 meals a day just depends. That was more or less inspired by the Industrial Revolution, so it's cultural, not biological, that we need to actually do that. It's just because it's a routine. We eat before work, we eat during or halfway through the day at work, and then after work. So it was more routine than it was biological, because there's no science that proves that we actually need to do that. If anything, fasting is something we've been doing since the dawn of time. Do you think that our ancestors ate 3 times a day? No. Sometimes they were lucky if they only ate once a day or even once every 2 days because they had to hunt for their food. Back then they didn't have grocery stores, back in the caveman days. And they were in good shape, right? 9 times out of 10, it can be very good for you. It's not for everybody, so if you feel concerned about doing it, I would advise asking your doctor if you have underlying health conditions. But this is mostly for people that don't have pre-existing health conditions. You have normal health, you're just trying to shed some unwanted pounds. So some ideas of what I did in the past were eating 1 meal a day, 5 days a week, and then I'd have my cheat days twice a week, like on the weekends or something, or whenever my cheat days were. 2 days a week, 5 days of the 1 meal program. So I've done where I only ate lunch and then nothing else, just water the rest of the day. It was like a 2,000 to 3,000 calorie meal. Within an hour, I can eat a lot at once. I have an appetite. And what happened was after a month, I lost about 15 pounds. So, yeah. It does work to a fault, but when your body starts adapting to it, it doesn't work as good because it's less of a shock because the body's adaptable. So I would say once you start listening to your body and it's telling you, okay, no more, go back to eating like a normal person, but I advise, calorie control. That's when you revert back to, the status quo of maybe eating 3 meals a day if it works for you. But that's not necessarily required. The thing you listen to the most, more than anything, is the scale. How you look in the mirror. Results. Can't argue results, right? And I've also done where I've eaten my 1 meal a day for supper, where I'd fast all day. I'd go to the gym right after work, and then I would eat 3,000 calories within the hour. And what turned out with that result is that I actually bulked up. My overall weight went down, but I got bigger. I was shedding some fat and putting on some muscle. I didn't lose as much weight as when I did the 1 meal a day for lunch versus supper, but I'll get into that. I think the reason being is because when you are eating earlier in the day, your body's going to burn more calories earlier in the day than it is later at night. And that is because of what they call neothermogenesis. So your body's warming up throughout the day, the core temperature is warming up, and it needs energy to do that, so it's going to burn more calories. And that's how you are going to be able to eat more earlier in the day. So how they say eating right before bedtime can actually put on more weight, that is kind of true. Ultimately, if your calories aren't too high, you should still see some good results. But you're more likely to lose weight if you eat earlier in the day and fast later in the day versus vice versa, right? That's what I learned. I lost more weight eating earlier in the day, fasting later in the day versus the other way around. We don't all respond to these things the same. Everybody's different. That's why some people need to ask their doctor before trying this, but it worked really good for me. But I don't have pre-existing health conditions, physically anyway. But I know I do, and I personally endorse it. I'm a proponent of it. It does get dangerous, though, when you run out of energy. So let's say you run out of fat. You're skinny. Then that's when it's bad to fast for extended periods of time. And your body's going to tell you through starvation, not hunger, starvation. Starvation is an elevated form of hunger. Starvation is where you need to eat versus hunger being just a desire. Hunger is a psychological trick just to get you to store more fat. So hunger is usually an illusion, but starvation is truth. Starvation is, usually low blood sugar symptoms, you're feeling like nothing matters, everything just feels stale, you have brain fog. Hell, there's times I've actually passed out for 2 seconds because I fasted for like more than 24 hours. I got kind of obsessed with it and ambitious, but yeah, it was bad. I learned my lesson from that. No, I don't usually do it more than 20 plus hours. I keep it under 24 hours. Normally, I only do it for like 15, 16 hours a day now. And that works for me, ish. But ultimately, it is calorie control that is going to determine whether you gain or lose weight. Calories in versus calories out. So if your calories are too high, you're going to gain weight. Calories too low, you're going to lose weight. Plain and simple. That's pretty straightforward. So the 3 meals a day, that all just depends on how many calories you're taking in on a total. And it usually is dependent on a weekly total. Not necessarily a daily, but a weekly. So your cheat days can undo all the hard work you put into your diet the other 5 days or 6 days or whatever. So even on your cheat days, I advise watching how many calories you take in, setting a limit on your weekly total, and whatever your body tells you is good or bad, listen to it. Ultimately, your body is the boss. Listen to it. I hope that was helpful. Thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's called Braden Wallace Life Talk. Hope to see you there. Thank you. Have a good night.